When Hal Shelburne saw it, when his son Dennis pulled it out of a moldering Ralston Purina carton that had been pushed far back under one attic eave, such a feeling of horror and dismay rose in him that for one moment he thought he surely must scream. He put one fist to his mouth as if to cram it back, and then merely coughed into his fist. Neither Terry nor Dennis noticed, but Petey looked around, momentarily curious. "Hey, Neat," Dennis said respectfully. It was a tone Hal rarely got from the boy anymore himself. Dennis was 12. "What is it?" Petey asked. He glanced at his father again before his eyes were dragged back to the thing his big brother had found. "What is it, Daddy?" "It's a monkey, fart brains," Dennis said. "Haven't you ever seen a monkey before?" "Don't call your brother fart brains," Terry said automatically, and began to examine a box of curtains. The curtains were slimy with mildew, and she dropped them quickly. "Ugh." "Can I have it, Daddy?" Petey asked. He was 9. "What do you mean?" Dennis cried. "I found it." "Boys, please," Terry said. "I'm getting a headache." Hal barely heard them. Any of them. The monkey glimmered up at him from his older son's hands, grinning its old familiar grin. The same grin that had haunted his nightmares as a child. Haunted them until he had... Outside a cold gust of wind rose, and for a moment lips with no flesh blew a long note through the old rusty gutter outside. Petey stepped closer to his father, eyes moving uneasily to the rough attic roof through which nail-heads poked. "What was that, Daddy?" he asked, as the whistle died to a guttural buzz. "Just the wind," Hal said.
Better watch out, baby, who's that? Don't look now, there's a monkey on your back. Watch out, baby, who's that? Don't look now, there's a monkey on your back. The Monkey. It's called Monkey on Your Back. It was by George Michael.
Yeah.
Why can't you do it? Why can't you set your monkey free?
What is it? What?
It's about a monkey on your back. I think it's about addiction, but...
Well, yeah.
But in a way, it's relevant to our story today because this is about a guy who can't get rid of his monkey. Except this monkey is a real
murder.
Monkey. If they had made an actual factual movie based on this, that would be a great tagline. This monkey ... is murder! ! And unfortunately, the movie poster for this could not be what you would want it to be, which is just a shot of the monkey with the symbols on a black background, because that was already stolen for the movie Monkey Shines, which is not based on this story, but is instead based on the novel Monkey Shines, and is not about a cymbal-banging monkey. It's about an actual rhesus monkey.
False advertising.
I'm angry about it. Have you ever seen Monkey Shines?
No.
Really? Oh my goodness, I'm surprised. I'm not.
Are you? No.
I'm not surprised at all. It's actually a pretty good movie, but it's about a guy who's paralyzed, and he gets a rhesus monkey as like a companion monkey, but he doesn't. Somehow he's accidentally gotten a rhesus monkey that's like escaped from a lab, so it's like hyper intelligent, and as all smart things are, evil. So yeah, Monkey Shines. It tries to kill him. It gets jealous of his girlfriend and tries to kill her. Tries to control his life. Monkey Shines.
Monkey
Shines. Oh, by the way, I'm Phil.
And I'm Willow.
And it's Del Toro time. But we're not talking about Guillermo del Toro. Why?
Because we're reading a short story.
And is this in a collection of short stories, perhaps?
It is.
What collection?
The Dark Descent.
By?
David G. Hartwell.
And this section is called the
Medusa and the Shield.
Right. And it's about what? Monkeys.
Psychological terror.
Psychological monkeys. Monkey terror. Okay. Well, we'll get to it. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
The reason that we're doing this, in case you just joined us, because watching movies got hard again for no reason. Mostly because of internet connections, I think. And we covered the first third of The Dark Descent, The Color of Evil, and now we're back covering the second part of this. And we're both smart people who like to read stories.
Yeah.
And they're spooky.
Yeah, and, It's our podcast. You can do what
Yeah,
we
we
want.
could do whatever the heck we want. Guillermo del Toro only makes so many movies a year, and for some reason we're having trouble watching Defending Your Life. So
Yeah.
So we finally got it. This is our second Stephen King. The first one was the first story.
I think it was the lake story.
Yeah, The Reach,
Mhm.
which was kind of, I think, more psychological than
Yeah.
To me, these two stories should have been swapped. Like, the first section was about, like, legitimate evil, and this section is about, like, interior horror. But to me, those concepts are the opposite in these stories.
Mhm.
Like, this monkey's evil.
Yep.
Yeah. And
No doubt about it.
About what?
No doubt about it.
Oh, no doubt about it. And The Reach was more about, like, the interiority of this woman who was, like, reaching the end of her life.
Mhm.
And, like, wasn't that scary. It was mostly sad. But in any case, The Monkey, written in 1980. And by the time King wrote this story, like, he was successful. He had been having short stories published since the late 60s. By 1980, he had already published Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, The Stand, Dead Zone, and this is the year Firestarter came out. He'd already had Carrie had already been based on, like, the movie had come out, and he'd already had a collection of short stories. Night Shift had already been published. So he was a successful writer at this point.
Mhm.
And that's why I was a little confused that this story was originally published in what's the magazine called? It's not Cavalier. It was, oh my God, why am I having trouble finding this? It's hard to get through his list of short stories because there's so many. It was originally published in Gallery in November of 1980, and Gallery is a nudie mag
Mhm.
that had aspirations of kind of being Playboy. But it's just funny that he was still, he only published one more short story in Gallery. He had published a lot before this. I assume it's just because maybe they gave him a good deal.
Probably.
Yeah, because it wasn't published within the body of the magazine. It was actually a pull-out insert, like, with its own glossy cover and everything. Like, so you could remove the monkey from the nudie mag and read it on the subway, I guess, if you wanted to, without just reading a dirty magazine. Because I've seen Gallery in, like I've searched for Gallery to try to find this short story in Gallery, and it's a T&A mag. Like, it's yeah. It's not, and it's less classy than Playboy. It's it throws them women right in your face. So I guess I was just, like, puzzled as to why in 1980 King was still publishing in adult magazines. Maybe they just gave him enough money. I don't know. But The Monkey. We're dealing with a writer who's kind of firing on all cylinders at this point.
All symbolders.
Go to your room.
I'm in my room.
Symbolders. He said that he was inspired to write this story because he was on the street. He was not on the streets. He was walking down the street in New York City, and he didn't live in New York City. He was conducting business there, and there was a guy selling these monkeys on the street. Like, I guess he had a setup. He said there was a bunch spread out on a blanket on the corner of 5th and 44th, all bending and grinning and clapping their cymbals. And he said, quote, "They looked really scary to me."
Yeah, I wonder why.
So, for those who aren't familiar with the monkey we're talking about, Willow, why don't you describe to our listeners what these monkeys are like?
It depends. Which version are you talking about?
Let's say the most common version, the version that we see in movies and see on the book covers.
Well, I mean, everyone's familiar with that version because everyone's seen Toy Story. Everyone's seen that series.
How would you, from your heart of hearts, describe this monkey toy?
It will eat the devil and laugh about it.
Oh my God. Yeah, cymbal banging monkeys. I mean, I hope people know what we're referring to when we say symbol banking monkey. If you look it up online, if you look it up on Wikipedia, symbol banking monkey toy, the picture they use.
Symbol banking.
Well, we're not banking on these symbols. They were originally created by the company Daishin CK. It's a Japanese toy company during the 1950s, and they were sold under the name Musical Jolly Chimp. As far as the description goes, it screeched and showed its teeth when its head was pressed, and I guess symbols were quickly added to the toy, and they are terrifying.
Yeah,
they're nightmarish.
Yep.
If I had been given one of these in the 1950s, as if I was a Japanese child and my parents had been like, "Here you go, Toshiro," I would have been like, I guess you hate me, and I guess I'm dying tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are ugly, horrible toys. And they capture...
They're bad.
They captured the public imagination. Everyone started making their own symbol banging. Like, I sent you a bunch of examples.
Yeah. Wait, what were they called? There were some good names in there.
There is Charlie Chimp.
Ah, yes. There is Clockwork Musical Monkey with clashing cymbals. Really rolls off the tongue.
Mm-hmm. Peppy tumbling a monkey with cymbal.
Wind up monkey playing cymbals.
There are two called Charlie Chimp. Charlie with an IE and Charlie with an EY.
Yeah.
And Charlie with an EY, Charlie Chimp, I sent you a video of Charlie Chimp working. And by working, I mean being the devil.
Yep.
I sent you a photo and you said, "Why are its eyes like that?" Because not only do the lips open and bear its skull-like teeth, what do the eyes do?
They pop out of his head.
And the eyes aren't friendly eyes.
No, they're red and angry.
And it turns out that when you try to replicate the look of a monkey's nose in a toy, it just looks like a skull nose.
Yep.
Yeah. There is no version of a symbol-banging monkey toy, no matter what model they're using, that looks like anything less than either the perpetrator of evil or the victim of evil. Because some of these look cowed and ashamed of being who they are.
Yep.
They're nightmares. I don't understand why anyone thought this was ever cute. But as we said, they've been ripped off for decades. Like, since they were created, these monkeys have existed, and people have just they've been cash cows, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm sending you a picture of a vintage one right now.
All right, here we go.
It's a little worse for wear.
All right, let's see what it.
So, no matter what, these things look. They don't get cuter as time goes on.
This thing has seen the wars.
Why
what
are
wars? I don't know. But
I thought that the teeth were like just drawn on, but nope, they're molded directly into the plastic, as you can see from the fact that the paint has worn off on this one. Why would you give the teeth depth? No idea. Yeah, this is from a Reddit. It's a Charlie Chimp that was found in an abandoned greenhouse.
Great. Why are people? Have they ever read this story? You don't take abandoned chimps out of greenhouses or anywhere that you find unless you want your family to get murdered.
And also, as the story, you can't abandon these. If you abandon a chimp, a cymbal-playing chimp, it is going to come back. It's going to come back and haunt you. And as the story relates, kill everything you love.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of fish.
And then a bunch of fish. So this is The Monkey by Stephen King, 1980, published in 1985 in Skeleton Crew, which is probably where most people have read it, and a billion other collections where it is always either like the first story or the last story, because people know that this is the winner. One of my favorite short stories when I was a kid. I was a little hesitant about rereading it because my experience with that from the Clive Barker story is that they don't hold up, but I am happy to announce this story holds up. This is a solid short story. But Willow, why don't you tell our listeners what this story is about?
This story is about Hal, not the AI from was 2001 Space Odyssey. Is that what it's from?
Mm-hmm.
It's about Hal, a guy with some kids and a wife who, when he was a little boy, had a murder monkey friend and then threw it away and then found it again when he was older and is now trying to protect his family from it. Doing a pretty bad job at first, almost beating his son. It's not great.
Now, wait. Now, Hal he didn't beat his son. He just grabbed his son and slammed him repeatedly against the wall.
Yeah.
Hal belongs in the Museum of Stephen King Bad Dads. This is still Stephen King. This is 1980 Stephen King. This is drug and alcohol Stephen King. He already wrote The Shining. This is Stephen King reflecting on the fact that he is not a good father at this point.
Yeah.
And if this story is about nothing else, it is about Stephen King feeling terribly guilty about being a bad dad. Yeah, because Hal, is he an alcoholic in this story, or just he's out of work? He's unemployed dad. Or he's gotten a new job. He was fired from his good job and they had to move. But he does slam his older son, repeatedly against the wall. And then they make up. They hug and make up. So it's
yeah.
He's a stressed man. Now you said that this is a murder monkey. And
this
I
is
do
a
need
murder
to,
monkey.
even though the story is called The Monkey, I must point out that this is a chimp, which is not a monkey. A chimp is a great ape, and I'm frustrated by the fact that it's still referred to as a monkey. Has no tail. Has no tail.
Well, that's just the way it is, man. The great ape doesn't really flow off the tongue as easily.
Because this ape ain't great. This ain't bad. This is the bad ape.
The bad ape.
Yeah. This is the poor ape.
Rename your short story, Stephen King.
The bad ape. Because you said this is a murder monkey. How does this monkey murder? Does it smash people together, his heads with their cymbals? Does it show up at night and smother you with its clanging cymbal? How does this monkey murder?
It just sort of kills him.
Wait, will you please be a little more specific?
Well, one of the people gets shot
Mm-hmm.
in an apartment shootout. So it seems like it mostly
My question is, have you read the story?
I have, yes. It slams its symbols together and then they just die.
Yeah. Some sort of monkey magic. Some sort of magic. People die when the symbols crash together. But
it's like a banshee. Except for not a lore accurate banshee.
Right. Its powers are referred to in TV tropes as reality warping because it's kind of like Final Destination. It makes things happen that either you get hit by a car, or one of its favorites seems to be having some sort of brain aneurysm or stroke. Just like,
I imagine that's probably the easiest to warp because brain aneurysms and strokes aren't that uncommon, and also everyone has a brain.
Right, which makes me wonder why it just doesn't do that all the time. But it also seems to be like trying to punish the guy, like make it apparent that like you're kind of the cause of all this. So this is one of my favorite kind of horror stories, which is I didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with finding a monkey, and yet I accidentally started. It's basically like The Grudge, like. You just you stumbled onto something, and now you can't escape its malevolence, and everyone's going to die because you did this. But you're not really at fault. You were a kid who found a monkey.
Yeah, it's the good old Aristotle tale.
What's the Aristotle tale? Oh, the story of Aristotle finding the cymbal crashing monkey toy.
Yeah,
right,
clearly. No,
right,
it's his definition of what makes a good tragedy. The hero isn't someone too good or too bad. And the problems that are happening aren't really their fault, but they're happening anyways.
Yeah, and that's what happens here. His father was a merchant marine who disappeared left one day and never came back. So he's a kid. This is back in when he was a kid, and he finds a bunch of he and his brother would dig through their father's stuff, which is just like this attic filled with junk. They find the monkey. Lo and behold, if you start it up, well, it doesn't work, but then it does work. And when it works, it works. It kills his favorite babysitter. She's the one who you said died in a shootout.
Yeah.
It kills like the family's like cat. It kills his best friend who falls off a tree. It kills the dog. It causes people to get hit by cars. It's just
the worst.
It's the worst, and he knows it's happening, but he can't stop it, because if he tries to get rid of it, it always turns up like a bad penny. Sometimes immediately, sometimes years later. He'll just be looking somewhere, and all of a sudden the monkey will be on the shelf. And
it's like Elf on the Shelf, but worse.
This would be an awesome replacement for Elf on the Shelf.
A murder monkey?
You can still buy these things. And parents of the world, if your kid asks for Elf on the Shelf, be like, not doing that. I've got something better. Take the monkey, set it on the shelf around Christmas time, and be like, we're doing the monkey this year. Now, here's the thing. If you hear the cymbals go, something you love will die. It could be mommy or daddy. It could be brother or sister. Could be your favorite teacher, a dog, even just a houseplant. We don't know. But it'll only bang his cymbals together if you're bad. So, gotta stick it out till Christmas, kids. That's my new Elf on the Shelf. Monkey.
Psychologically tormenting your kids.
Elf on the Shelf is psychologically tormenting your kids anyway.
Fair enough.
So you may as well go whole hog. Stephen King's The Monkey. Thank you, Mr. King. You and I were talking back and forth about The Monkey, and you had said that you were upset, saddened, and upset that this monkey did not reappear. Or I said I was upset, and you were like, why? This monkey could defeat it. This monkey could defeat Pennywise. Like, it literally can just kill you from a distance for no reason. It's the most evil thing he's ever created.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's a shame that it didn't show back up in the Dark Tower series like all the other villains do. And I really thought a lot about that after we talked about it. And in a way, this story is like a proto version of it. Like, it literally is. It's a nested tale. It's two stories: an adult and him as a child, retelling the story of him as a child, fighting and defeating this ancient evil that then comes back when he's an adult and that he has to get rid of again. And it's told in flashbacks as he tries to get rid of it the second time. I was like, this is the skeleton of it. Yeah. And the monkey is Pennywise. It's an evil that's killing things for no reason other than its own like satisfaction. And then it gets defeated, and then it comes back like 30 years later. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well. But does the monkey, I can't remember, does the monkey kill anyone in present day? I don't think it does.
Not entire. I don't think so. I'm gonna skim through this real quick to see it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I think he manages to not have it go off. Yeah,
it's a threat, and it's almost, it causes him stress, and he's worried about it. But the bulk of the plot takes place in his flashbacks as he remembers things that happened to him with his encounters with the monkey as a child.
Yeah.
But I guess the idea. So the reason he finds the monkey again is when he was a kid, his dad disappeared. His mother died as a result of the monkey when he was very young. She had an aneurysm at work, and he goes to live with his aunt and uncle, who are a kindly couple. Even though his uncle drops the N-word twice.
Yep.
In the beginning of the story.
Good old Stephen King.
The old Stephen King. 1980 Stephen King. So come on, my boy. The uncle drops the N-word twice. He says that the monkey looks like a blank. Yeah. The way its teeth look. It smiles like a blank. And I thought, because this happens right away, I was like, okay, I didn't remember this. I was like, okay, so this is setting the uncle up to be a jerk. This is setting the uncle up to be a racist, or like in any story, this would be your first indication that he's about to have to go live with his racist uncle, who's kind of a bad. Nope. Uncle is a perfectly nice guy. I guess This is just King's way of saying he's just an old timer, with his salty language. And I'm like, this is really uncomfortable, my friend.
My dude, Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
My dude.
I mean, yeah. But our indication that the monkey is active again is the fact that his aunt and his uncle have both died, and there is some. So they go to the house to clean out the house where he grew up, and he finds them. His son finds the monkey in the attic again, and so that's our. It's implied that the aunt and the uncle might have died because the monkey was coming back into power.
Yeah,
because when he was a kid, he had dropped the monkey down
a well.
Mm-hmm. And covered it back up.
Yeah, buried the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Except for instead of chucking your stepdaughter down a well, you chucked an evil murder monkey.
I thought you meant the ring from the Lord of the Rings, which is similar in that it always comes back.
Yeah.
Yes. He Sadakos the monkey. He yeets it into a well.
Yeah.
When he's like 6, he's a little kid.
Yeah. I mean, there's really no blame to place on this poor boy.
No.
At all.
Chucks it down a well, covers the well up, gets torn apart by brambles. It's very explicit in how much this kid gets sliced to pieces by the thorns, and by blackberry bushes. So he says like it took 30 years for this thing to come back. So there's some physical aspect of it because the monkey had to get out of the well. Now, clearly nobody helped it out, but it gets out. So there is some sort of physical limitation on this thing. It has to somehow psychically get out of the well in 30 years. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how. They don't explain it, which I love. I love that it's never explained. We never find out why the monkey is like this. We never find out if it's cursed, if it's a demon. Nothing. It's kept completely vague, which is part of the power of this story, is that it's just like Christine, like the Overlook Hotel. It's just evil. There's just an evil about it that makes it so cool.
There is another sort of main character in this story though as well. It's Petey, the little boy, his little son.
Little boy, yeah. Do you wish I'd named you Petey?
No.
Is Petey a good name for a child?
I mean, it's not a bad one. I just like my name better.
If your name is Peter though, and people call you Petey, you're already a victim. I don't think there's ever been a hero named Petey.
There's one in this story.
I guess he is kind of he doesn't do much.
No, but he also doesn't like... He tries to help his dad with the evil murder monkey.
He does. He's the only one who his dad confides in about the monkey being a murderer. He's not going to tell his older son because his older son is a jerk and also got slammed against the wall. I remember this story ending differently, honestly.
Really?
I was totally shocked. I'm probably conflating it with other King stories. So he gets his son. When he was a kid, he used to go fishing with his uncle, and his uncle, at one point, his uncle's like, we don't ever go out into this part of the lake, or we don't go straight to this part of the lake. It's the deepest part of the lake. It's super deep. So he decides what to do is put the monkey in a duffel bag, fill the duffel bag with rocks, row out to the middle of the lake, and drop the duffel bag over the deepest part of the lake. Because even though it won't stop the monkey, it'll slow it down for another 30 years or so. He rows out there. His son stays on the shore. He drops the monkey. The monkey starts banging its cymbals as it's going down. And as he's rowing back to the shore, his boat falls apart. And he thinks he's going to drown, but it falls apart, but it's in the shallow area, and he manages to swim. Hug his son, and that's it. I remembered the short story ending with him discovering that his wife and other son had died because they're out of town at this point. I thought he got like some kind of call that they had been in a car accident. And my other memory was that when he finally gets back to the shore, his younger son, something has happened to him. Totally made up. Is
there an adaptation or something that does that?
I think I was remembering Christine. I think because in Christine,
Okay.
they think they've gotten rid of the car, but then like he finds out later that like someone has died, and you're like, oh, it's still out there. Like instead, in the short story, it's the fish. The fish all die.
Yeah. Hundreds of dead fish were found floating belly up on Crystal Lake in the neighboring township of Casco last week.
Yeah. Crystal Lake, by the way, being the lake from Friday the 13th, but this
Yep.
is before Friday, or the same year as Friday the 13th, which is funny. Like,
What are the odds?
clearly it's a name for a lake. It's a very innocuous sounding lake
Yeah.
name, but it's just funny that like I like to believe that they are tied together, that the monkey is constantly banging its cymbals, and Jason Voorhees this is why Jason Voorhees is alive, because the monkey magic. Like the monkey's like, well, I can't get out myself. I can make this drown boy come back out of the lake though.
Jason Voorhees monkey crossover when?
When? Question mark. Yeah, because it kind of has a happy ending.
Does it?
I mean, none of his family dies.
Yeah. Just potentially everyone else.
Considering how dark most Stephen King short stories end, though, this one's surprisingly like upbeat. It's like,
That's true. It's just, if this is a common fishing lake and the monkey doesn't need to be that like far from people or that like close to people for them to die, you know?
I think the rules seem to be that the monkey has to be close to someone for someone, like the monkey has to be close to Hal for someone Hal loves to die.
What if somebody goes there every week to like feed the fish and the monkey gets really close to one of the fish that they feed and then that person dies?
I think the person would have to know that fish. That's why I think only fish are dying. Like, there is one fish down there who sees the monkey and is like, that thing's no good. And it keeps like banging its cymbals, and like one of its fish friends dies. Like, I think you have to be at least somewhat close to the victim. Someone's going to have to, I don't know. Somehow that monkey's got to swim out of it got out of the well somehow. It's going to get out. I think everyone's okay for now.
Yeah.
I think as long as no one goes back to that house, it's okay. I think the monkey's only going to show back up in the attic.
Which is interesting.
Right.
It's an interesting limitation.
It didn't show back up at Hal's actual home. It showed, because they're not even living in the house. They're staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
Which is a weird plot point. Like, I would think that, like, I lost my job, my aunt and uncle died, we're going to move back into the old house. But instead, it's like, we're moved into a hotel and we're just cleaning out the house. I don't know. But
hey, the 80s, man, it was a different world where you could afford things.
It's true. The death of the dog is the death that always stuck with me, because he causes the dog to have an aneurysm, and the dog, like, stumbles and falls, and like blood comes shooting out of its eyes and stuff. And as a kid, when I read this, I was like, holy crap, is that an aneurysm? Even people in the story though were like, this isn't a regular aneurysm. Like, that doesn't happen.
They're like, I like their excuse of she's old. Ah, yes, you know, the old age death of blood spurting out of your eyes.
Yeah, you know how when your dog gets too old and its eyes explode. But they even say, like, he knows as a kid, like, this is a weird death.
Yeah.
But for some reason I didn't remember that part. And so when I was a kid and I read this, and by kid I mean like junior high, that was what an aneurysm was to me. And it terrified me, because I understood that you could die of an aneurysm without knowing you were with no warning. Like, and that is what happens. Like, you can have an aneurysm with no ill effects beforehand. And for a long time that was that terrified me. The thought of like dying like this, because his mother dies the same way. And I lived in fear. So thank you, the monkey, for instilling that fear in a young man.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the monkey's powers. We've established that it has reality warping powers. Do you think that it can only warp reality to the extent of what already might have been happening?
Yes. Like, we don't see anyone get hit by lightning.
Yeah.
Or we don't see people's arms fall off, or anything. Like, that's why I said it's kind of like Final Destination. Like, it kind of sets things up so you die.
Like, his babysitter was already at risk of getting shot and killed. The monkey
Right.
just ensured that it happened.
Right, because she gets killed in her apartment by her roommate's boyfriend. They get in an argument, the roommate's boyfriend kills both of them and then kills himself.
Yeah.
And that conceivably could have happened anyway. In fact, you're kind of left for a while wondering if this is all just coincidence until it clearly isn't.
Until the monkey starts, talking to him.
Right, and the monkey kills a fly at one point. There's a fly buzzing in the room, and the monkey accidentally, like, someone bumps the monkey and its symbols just go clink, and the fly falls down dead.
Which,
so that
very lucky that it was just a fly.
But that also means that, like, the level of death is caused by, like, I guess, how many times the monkey can bang its cymbals and how forcefully. Like, if the monkey's like, clunk, 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 like, maybe you'll just get a bad headache? I don't know.
Yeah. So then my theory is that it has to cause a brain aneurysm in people whose deaths aren't fated to happen anytime soon.
Right. Yeah, it seems to have to operate under certain rules.
Yeah.
You can't muffle the cymbals. He says he tried that when he was a kid. He put a pillow between the cymbals, and when he came back, the pillow was across the room.
Which I don't really know what you were expecting.
Right.
But
and
if
also,
he duct taped something to the cymbals,
I think he would just come back and it would just be undone. Like, he said that he put his hand between the cymbals at one point, or he put something between the cymbals when it tried to, and he felt like a jolt. Like, I feel like if you grabbed onto them and tried to stop them from clanging, like, it would hurt you somehow.
Yeah.
Like, there's some kind of magic around this thing that makes it inevitable. Which is a little bit of a cheat, but also not, because it makes it really creepy. It's the hedge animals in The Shining. Like, they only come after you when you're not looking, and the monkey only seems to use its, like, superpowers when you're not looking at it. The way it travels and the way it, like, gets rid of a pillow when you're not looking. So I like that because it's a mystery. There's no
maybe the entire time House Family was just playing Monkey on the Shelf with him.
It's been his family the whole time. It's been his wife.
Yeah.
Or it was his uncle. It was his racist uncle.
Yeah.
And the rest is just coincidence.
Yep.
But because I love this short story so much, it was always, to me, like, it always stuck with me. Like, this is the horror you can't escape. As we've said on this past, that's one of the best horrors. Is just, it's an It Follows, it's a The Ring, it's a Ju-on, it's just, it wasn't your fault, but now you just got to die from it.
Luckily, he doesn't die from it.
Luckily, he doesn't. But super luckily, someone else thought this was an awesome story and made a movie of it in 1985, I think, called The Devil's Gift.
Hey, we've already established this thing's way more powerful than the devil.
More powerful than that. It was 1984, right? Because this wasn't collected in Skeleton Crew until 85. Kenneth J. Burton made The Devil's Gift. I can't find much information on the making of this, except for one comment on a review of it that was by someone who worked production on this movie, and said that according to what they experienced on the set, the director, this was like a pre-existing screenplay that the director, like, directed and worked on the screenplay. And according to the director, Kenneth Burton had no idea that this was a ripoff of a Stephen King short story until production was already underway. And he was very upset by this. But it was too late to, like, change anything because they were already making the movie. So fortunately, nobody saw it, and it was a bad movie, and no one got sued because this is just the monkey. Except there is like a plot added where this woman, Elmira Johnson, used a Ouija board to infest a cymbal banging monkey with an evil spirit. And after that, it just kind of becomes the monkey until the end, where the monkey kills everybody, kills the whole family. The house catches fire and they all die. It's on YouTube if you want to see The Devil's Gift.
It's a really bad quality.
But that's okay because it's a really bad movie.
Yeah.
It is so boring. And it's like an hour, it's not even an hour and a half long. And my eyes were glazing over minutes in. It's a bad movie.
Yeah.
But what's funny is 12 years later, Kenneth J. Burton made his second movie called Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders.
Yeah.
In which, in 1996, he took the monkey and edited it down to like 30 or 45 minutes and made it the second segment of a 2-part anthology film about Merlin the Wizard running a shop and trying to get cursed items back into his shop. So it's basically a ripoff on Friday the 13th, the series.
Yeah.
So the framing device is that Merlin is trying to get this monkey back in the second part. And he does. He successfully gets it back using, of course, all new footage that doesn't in any way line up with the original movie. But also, the story of Merlin trying to get these cursed objects back is itself being told as a story by a grandfather telling the story of Merlin trying to get these cursed items back to his grandson, a la The Princess Bride.
That's what I was going to say.
So it's a grandfather telling his son a story of Merlin the Wizard having a magical shop in which there are a couple of stories of Merlin trying to get and the monkey is just the second one. And what's funny is the way he edits the monkey down, the Devil's Gift down into this segment makes it shorter and makes it more like Stephen King's short story because it cuts out all the extraneous made up garbage and just focuses tightly on this cursed monkey. So now you watch it and you're like, well, this is definitely because if you just start watching The Devil's Gift and you're just like watching this woman and this seance and this demon, you're like, you wouldn't think this is Stephen King's story. But the way it's edited in The Devil's Gift or in the Merlin Shop of Mystical Wonders, which they did on Mystery Science Theater 3000, it's just a ripoff of the monkey at this point. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it never made any money, so Stephen King was probably just like, who cares? Like, I'm not gonna like make this guy pay me $100,000 or whatever and like ruin his life. Like, Stephen King is like, I'll let it go.
Maybe Stephen King just didn't know it existed, and now that we've made this episode, he's gonna be really mad.
I am sure this has been brought to his attention.
Oh, definitely.
But
he has good lawyers.
King also does this thing called dollar babies, where if you're a budding filmmaker and you pay Stephen King $1, he will give you the film rights to one of his short stories. And he's been doing this for decades, and I assume he's still doing it. And that's the way a lot of actual filmmakers had gotten their start, making Stephen King dollar babies. I think that's how Frank Darabont got his start, like, who ended up making like The Mist. Like,
yeah,
he made a Stephen King dollar baby movie, and the only rules I think are that you can't monetize it, you can't make money off of it. But it's like it was a way for filmmakers to get their foot in the door, and there is currently a dollar baby being made, an Indiegogo campaign of a guy making a short film of the monkey.
Nice.
Which I only discovered right before we started filming, and I was getting my notes together, and it has never come up on my searches before, but this guy is making an adaptation at The Monkey Short on Twitter and Instagram. Like, you can look, it's already been funded. But I'm looking at, like, he hasn't released a trailer or anything yet. It's already filmed. It's just in the editing and scoring process. It looks like it could be cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited. He's got a good creative team. I mean, I'm not sitting here like just like pimping for this guy's like movie, but I get excited when people do things like this.
Yeah.
So at some point in the future, there's going to be a short film of the monkey released, and I'm curious as to what he's going to do with it.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
Yeah. So thumbs up, dude.
I still think this
name is?
monkey should have reappeared in later stuff.
Yes, this is too good to let go. It's a great story. I love the monkey.
Stephen King, can I please write a follow-up to the monkey?
Or yeah, like do an anthology book of just different authors with their own takes on the monkey. Like, why not?
Yes,
I guess
that would be awesome.
I guess it would mostly just be like people dying.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Oh, so much of media is just people dying. Who cares?
So he writes The Monkey. It comes out. It gets published in Skeleton Crew. It was actually published the same year. It counts as what they call a chap book, because I guess because it was a pullout, like insert in the magazine, it's considered its own like separate publication.
Yeah.
But it was also published in the Modern Masters of Horror, in Year's Best Horror Stories number 9, in Fantasy Annual number 4, and these is all in like 1981, in the anthology Horrors in 1981. Like, people knew this was a solid story.
Yeah.
And then it comes out in Skeleton Crew. It's published in Mike Ashley's The Mammoth Book of Short Horror Novels, and because it's considered a novelette.
Oh boy.
It's a novelette. But it's never not been in print. Like, it's still in print in Skeleton Crew. It's out there, so it's easy to find a copy of The Monkey if you want to read it, if you don't have The Dark Descent.
I have read this story before. I own a copy of The Skeleton Crew, and I've read every story in there.
Yeah.
I was wondering why this was so familiar.
Yeah, you got that years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it around when me and my mom went to Duluth for the first time together.
Skeleton Crew is a fantastic collection because it has The Mist, which is probably the greatest novella by Stephen King, one of the greatest. Has The Monkey. It has Mrs. Todd's Shortcut. It has The Jaunt. It has The Raft. It has Word Processor of the Gods. It has Survivor Type, Uncle Otto's Truck, and Grandma, and The Reach. The Reach is the final story in Skeleton Crew. So from A to Z, it is just a fantastic collection of short stories. It doesn't have as much faff as Night Shift. It's got just banger after banger, and even the lesser stories, like The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands, which I don't consider that great. Beach World, which is just kind of a fragment, but they're still like fun reads. So yeah, Skeleton Crew.
We're both Stephen King fans in this call, right?
We're both Stephen King fans,
Yeah.
and I totally forgot that our boy David G. Hartwell in The Dark Descent had a thing or two to say about The Monkey, because as we know, he likes to talk about the books.
Yeah.
He says that King often writes in the mode of psychological horror. The Raft and The Crate come to mind, which to me, like, those are weird because those are definitely monster stories.
David G. Hartwell has some interesting genre definitions.
He says, using the forms of the story of generational haunting. So that's true. King draws on the Ray Bradbury-esque device of the evil toy, a moral symbol of some complexity. Shadows of the Dark, ironies of Robert Bloch and Richard Matheson, and the graphic depictions of EC Comics make this one of King's most successful stories at integrating and interweaving the strands of contemporary horror. Yet in spite of its central concern with psychological horror, the story retains the characteristic moral concerns that elevate King's major work. One of King's most salient influences on the horror story is the extent to which he is synthesizing and mutating from his voluminous reading in horror the entire historical development of the field. As Dickens regenerated the Christmas ghost story, so King has accomplished a wholesale regeneration of horror traditions in the contemporary field. And yeah, we didn't talk about the fact that absent the presence of the monkey itself, this is a story about a man struggling with his feelings of failure, his feelings of failure as a father. Like, it's very King in that regard.
Yeah. This is definitely a psychological story. I just don't think the horror is part of the psychology.
Or it is, I mean, it could be the story of a man without the monkey present. If all the deaths still had, it's the story of a man haunted by
his past
and the randomness of death.
Yeah, which is, I find it interesting that no one died in the modern thing.
Right.
Like, clearly this monkey is a malevolent force, and there's no doubt about, like, its authenticity in this. But at the same time, it's that question of, is this just a kid placing the blame of unimaginable tragedy on the shoulders of an item that is within his reach?
Right. Because it doesn't come back until after he loses his job. And it's kind of like the cycle is beginning again. Not of the monkey, if you eliminate the monkey from the story, it's like the cycle of his failure, the cycle of his guilt, which he's then like putting onto his older son. And if you look at it that way, then like him collaborating with his younger child on getting rid of this thing from his past, and like the collapsing of the boat around him, but his eventual like, then it is about a guy like letting go of his failures.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of like I was just talking with my therapist about this, about the way we sort of get caught in our own. We won't do things. We won't take chances because we're afraid of failing again. But life is going to continue anyway, and you're going to have setbacks, and bad things will happen regardless. And it's kind of like he finally takes action at the end of this book, a story, and bad things may still show up later in life, but it's not because he didn't try.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
The only thing that would change if the monkey wasn't here, perhaps, is the death of all those fish.
But you know what? Fish die. Maybe there's pollution. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the monster from The Raft by Stephen King. We don't know. All I'm saying is, someone please write a comic book where all of these minor villains from Stephen King short stories, the raft, the crate, the monkey, all team up again in some sort of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen of Horror to terrorize the world, because I want these villains to come back. We focus too much on Pennywise. Bring back the monkey. Bring back the evil beer. Bring back bring back the Mangler. We want these.
Yes, I love the Mangler.
He's so good, and that's one thing I love about the story is King is so good at taking something stupid that shouldn't be terrifying and making it terrifying, because by being psychologically true to his characters and being like, you know what's not actually scary besides the way it looks? A cymbal-banging monkey. You know what could be terrifying if it actually started causing everyone you love to die? A cymbal-banging monkey. And by treating it legitimately, like, okay, what would have happened if this started happening, and having the character being terrified, it makes it scary. Yeah. So King is so good at that. Like, he never winks at the audience. He's just like, no, this is terrifying. If this happened to you, it would be terrifying. It's I think it was on the old We Hate Movies podcast. They would always point out, like, if X, Y, or Z happened in real life, like if your dog started talking to you in real life, if Chucky started talking to you in real life, you would just throw up, poop your pants, and go into a coma, like, because your brain would break. So yeah. That's kind of what King does. He's like, no, if this really happened, it would be terrifying.
Yeah, like we make fun of so many like things.
Yeah.
But that's because the movies or the stories themselves don't take it seriously. Yeah. Like it's one thing to like be like a bit like tongue in cheek about something if that's what your intention is, but when like a serious horror film just kind of is like, haha, look at this funky thing that we're doing. You're like, okay, then.
And I think it's one of the reasons adaptations of this kind of stuff are difficult, because when you just show a monkey on screen, if you try too hard to make it scary, then it becomes camp. But if you don't try hard enough, it's just boring. So you've got to like...
You got to find that Toy Story balance.
Yep. That monkey is scary.
Yep.
That monkey is scary.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Big thumbs up to the monkey. So we've accepted that the Stephen King's The Monkey is a good story, but what we don't know is if our next story is a good story. Willow, what's the next story in The Dark Descent by David G. Hartwell?
Michael Bishop's Within the Walls of Tyre. Or Tyre.
Or Tyre? I don't know yet. I have no idea what this story is about.
It's a Southern Gothic.
Southern, that's all I know. Yeah. I have never read it. I don't know what to expect. I'm looking forward to it. I've never even read Michael Bishop, as far as I know. So we're in for a doozy, probably. A doozy?
A doozy. He writes dark fantasy, apparently.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for listening to The Dark Descent. It's Del Toro time. I don't think Guillermo del Toro would make an adaptation of The Monkey. It has nothing to do with anything he writes about.
I mean, it might have some clockwork in it.
I was just thinking that. Maybe clockwork. But that's literally it. This is not his style of story. And that's fine. And that's fine. Because this is a subheading of It's Del Toro time.
It's Del Toro time.
Yep.
Willow and Phil read short stories.
Yep. You can find us on Twitter at Del Toro Time. You can find us on Facebook at It's Del Toro Time. Give us a shout. Give us a listen. We're on YouTube as well under Phil Gonzalez's my YouTube page. I'm loading these all onto YouTube where they're doing pretty. People are listening to them. Like I think they're not necessarily listening to the whole thing, but they're starting them. We're getting a few listens. So check us out there if that's the way you like to listen to things. Until next time with Michael Bishop, I am Phil.
And I'm Willow.
And we'll see you when it's Del Toro time.
Right.